Brock Wright. This is kind of out of left field. Didn't expect. And I wonder if the Lions expected a restricted free agent who they gave the league mandated tender to, which was a 1 year, $2.85 million. But being a restricted free agent, he could go out and he could seek out his own contract and with somebody else, and then the Lions have the right of first refusal. Well, now they got a decision to make because the San Francisco 49ers offered him a 3-year, $12 million deal. Now, it sounds like it's only $6 million guaranteed, but it's a commitment for a longer period of time than the Lions offered Brock Wright. So what are we talking about here? Are we talking about a guy that you just let walk? He's a valuable role player. We all know this. In fact, we probably know it more than most. In Detroit, I think we elevate the role player quicker and to a higher status than most towns. But I'm talking about the fans. I'm not talking about the teams. Still, Gator, Brock Wright, who had 14 targets last year and 13 catches. The Lions have 5 days to match, which I don't know when the offer went out. It was over the weekend at some point. They got a decision to make whether they want to match this offer with Brock Wright. And you go, okay, what's the difference? A few million. It's not a few million just this year. It's several million next year. And next year is probably where they're eyeing cap challenges more so than this year. Are they willing to make that kind of commitment? It's an interesting question.
It is. And I think he's a very valuable role player on this team as a backup tight end, as someone who's a special teams guy and somebody who comes in the two tight end sets. I think he helps with the run game. And it feels like he comes up with a couple of monster plays each year he's been with the Lions. With the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because I started to think of role players that we value them very highly, but we don't want to overvalue the role player. San Francisco's got a role player, right? They already have Juszczyk, right? Yep. Kyle Juszczyk, the fullback, who's Pro Bowl fullback every year. And I always find him to be interesting, right? He carried the ball last year 5 times for 6 yards.
Right.
No touchdowns. He's an unsung hero, but they sing his praises pretty much. In 17 games, he caught 14 passes for a couple of touchdowns. Like they already have that guy. They're bringing in another guy who does the exact same thing in Brock Wright. Should we hang on to our Brock Wright?
It's really intriguing that I don't know if there's going to be from a football perspective, the two best teams in the NFC are haggling over a primarily blocking tight end.
Right.
Now, does that tell you how good this guy actually is? Or does it mean anything more than that? I mean, these are two good teams that both want Brock Wright. Huh. It's not like it's Carolina and the Bears haggling over him. It's Detroit and San Francisco.
I think the Lions want Brock Wright. That's why they tendered him the offer. My question is, how much do they really want Brock Wright? Because otherwise they would have offered him a 3-year deal worth maybe $10 million and he would have took it, right? Instead, they put the tendered offer out there and let the market decide what Brock Wright is worth. The market said, which was the Niners, said 3 years, $12 million. Now the question is, like I said, I go back to the Lions. How much is he worth to you? Personally, I like Brock Wright. I don't think you can find a Lions fan that doesn't like Brock Wright. Right. He blocks well. He catches the ball almost every time it's thrown to him, even though it's 14 targets, 13 catches, right. But he catches it, right? So he doesn't mess up. He does his job. He does it well, goes home. But he's a backup blocking tight end. So for this price, I personally would move on and save that money for maybe a Quandre Diggs or whoever. And I think everything they do contractually right now is, like he says, intentional. St. Brown's got a contract extension coming up. Jared Goff has a contract extension coming up. Ali McNeil has a contract extension coming up. Taylor Decker's on his last year's deal. So I feel like maybe it's the fact that they just want to commit much more long-term to him than just this upcoming year.
I find it interesting that they haven't committed anything to those guys either. Like, they're still unsigned. Obviously they're contractually obligated for this upcoming season.
They're signed but not extended.
Yeah, they haven't been extended yet. Brock Wright in the 3 seasons with the Lions. He's played in 41 games, has 43 receptions, on 55 targets throughout his career. I mean, he's been the guy in 7 touchdowns. So every 6 times the guy catches the ball, it's for a touchdown.
He had some big catches. He had a 4th down conversion. I thought it was the Denver game, but he had a 29-yarder against Tampa.
He had a 36-yarder his first year with the Lions, a 51-yarder in 2022.
That was the Jets touchdown, right?
Yeah, and then this past year, his largest play was a 25-yard game.
Is that did he have a big one against the Chargers? I mean, there was one in the postseason, which was more, but yeah, I mean, it just feels like he's this kind of under the radar guy that gets broken out at strategic times. They go to him.
Well, that's the thing. Your number one, without question, is Sam Laporta, and it's like not even close, right?
No,
like
it's
not
not.
even close. So it's not like they split time or it's even 70-30 as far as, receiving targets and things like that. It's Sam Laporta. At this point, I think you trust your developmental with James Mitchell, maybe Zylstra. You go grab maybe a veteran. You definitely go draft one, I think, for depth in the tight end room. But yeah, I think you just got to move on. I think if the Niners want him that bad, take him.